What's good, Commanders family, and welcome into Command Center. We have breaking news to start the show. Former first-round pick Jahan Dotson has been traded to the Philadelphia Eagles along with a fifth-round pick for a 2025 third-round pick and 2 seventh-round picks. We also have acquired a kicker from the Browns. We sent a conditional seventh-round pick to the Browns for kicker Cade York. Now, a lot of breaking news. We are going to be talking about these new acquisitions next week. However, it's all about our QB1 right now. That's right, Jayden Daniels has been named the starter for the Washington Commanders.
I told you all, about 2 months ago that he was going to be the starting quarterback.
Okay, but it didn't really register in my mind. I was
be like, now I'm ready right now. Commanders family, we have a jam-packed show for you today. Jayden Daniels was named the starting quarterback of the 2024 season. We talk about what this means for our Commanders. Then we get into the film room. Logan and the fellas break down plays from Jayden's first 2 preseason games. And the captain, London Fletcher, joins the show to talk about our new starting QB. All that and more starts right now. What's good, Commanders family? Brian Cooper Jr. here with Fred Smoot, Santana Moss, Logan Paulson. We are out of the heat for good. Now we're back in the cold studio. Fellas,
yes.
Big news. QB1, Jayden Daniels has been announced as our starting quarterback. Initial thoughts on that?
We knew it was going to come. We just didn't know how fast it was going to come and how fast he was going to take that playbook, how fast he was going to learn how to control that huddle. So I'm glad to see everything kind of expedited, but we knew this day was going to come.
I was definitely anticipating that day. You know what I mean? When you're watching a guy in preseason, you saw so many things that he was doing that was just, I guess you can say beyond his years.
Yeah.
And you just knew it was going to come sooner or later. Not sure, but we just knew what day would, Dan make that decision, and I'm glad it's behind him now.
Yeah, I think kudos to the coaching staff. I think they just did a great job handling this. Not only coaching staff, but Adam Peters as well, not setting an expectation, letting him kind of develop slowly. And I think it just turned out really well for them. And I really appreciate how they handled the process.
And Logan used the word expectation.
Yeah.
It's hard for fans not to see this and start setting expectations for our rookie quarterback. Y'all have been there before, man.
Yeah.
Tanner, you were a first-round pick.
Yeah.
You know what that pressure is.
Yeah.
Talk about that and why fans should not set an expectation for this.
Well, I think one of the things, I'm one of those guys, even if I wasn't a guy that had been in that, thrusting that role, I don't think none of us is going to feel what he's going to feel as a quarterback. You know what I mean? As a player, we already have those expectations for myself, not alone, the team and the organization when you're a first-round pick, but it's already going to be, pressure. So why add more? Just allow the kid to be the kid. I think, I want to see him, slowly progress every game. I think each and every game you see this team form and continue to grow together, and then you allow him to do what he's going to do. That's enough pressure in itself. So why put a bar out there for him,
Yeah, don't put the expectations. People fail when you put expectations on them. Let's just watch this guy get better week in and week out. That's all I expect. I want him to be better from the first game to the 5th game. I want to see him mature. I want to see him not make the same mistakes, but I also not going to make him the savior complex. He's not the savior. He's a piece of the puzzle, but he's not the savior.
Yeah, and it's so easy to kind of say, oh, this throw is great, this throw is bad. I think Fred hit it there. You want to see him slowly mature and grow over the course of the season. And if you can do that, and he shows that he has the potential to be a top 10 kind of guy in the NFL, at the end of this thing, we're going to be doing all right for years to come. So it's not about this year, it's about the subsequent years and what he can grow into.
And one thing I think we've seen from Jayden so far is he's ready to rise to the occasion. I actually got to talk to our rookie quarterback a little earlier in the week about those expectations, about him being named the starter.
You were just named the starter, man. So I need you to take me back there, man. Where were you at? When did you find out? Tell me everything.
Yeah, it was on Monday. I was chilling in the quarterback room, talking with Charlie.
PR guy.
Yeah, PR guy, Charlie, PR guy. We were over talking about Lakers and Knicks basketball stuff. Next thing you know, DQ just walked in, and he I talked to Jayden, and from there we kind of just having a conversation about, my routine and stuff like that, and then he tried to slide it under there. But that's when I found out.
Yeah, man. What was that like, man? Because it sounds like when Dan Quinn talks, he's just so casual and chill about everything.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
What was your first thought when he hit you? Just slid it in, hey, you want me to start it?
Oh, okay. But it didn't really register in my mind. I was kind of thinking about my routine and stuff like that. And then from there, I was like, oh. And then we had a conversation. I was just telling him, thank you, appreciate all that.
And when that did settle, when you really realized the moment, Who was the first person you called to share the news with?
Yeah, I mean, I called my mom, told her first, and then called my dad and told him. So those are two I told everybody else. I had to keep it under wraps until it came out.
I mean, you had to have been dreaming about that moment your entire life, man. So now that you've been there, now you're on the back end of it, because it's hard to really be in the moment during those times. What was that moment for you, man? What was going through your head, man? What sat in with you?
Yeah, I don't think it kind of hit me until I got home. Kind of able to gather my thoughts.
Right.
But it was a very surreal moment because growing up, you know, loving the game of football, watching NFL Sunday, you see one of the 32 out there, you know, playing quarterback. So I always dreamt of being one, and I'm grateful I had the opportunity to be one of those.
You talk about dreaming of being that starting quarterback. When do you think that dream hit, when you're like, this is what I want to do? I want to be an NFL player.
Yeah, it started very young. I want to say like 8, 9 years old, kind of around the time when I started playing football.
Wow.
And then you kind of venture off, and then I got into the basketball phase. And then kind of like 8th grade, going to high school is kind of where I was like, okay, I could really do something with this football thing, take it very serious. And that's when around the time I put that on my wall, I'll play in the NFL. I didn't know where I get drafted to. I just knew that I had the opportunity to play in the NFL.
Great catching up with our rookie QB. I know we're all excited to see what he can do. Now, you can catch our full interview on the Next Man Up podcast. That's right, the Next Man Up podcast is back. Every Friday, you can watch it on the Commanders YouTube page or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's take a look at Jayden's preseason numbers through those first 2 weeks. Jayden was efficient, throwing for 123 yards, having a QB rating of over 100, and he even rushed for a touchdown. Great to see Jayden ball out. Can't wait to see what he does in the regular season. Welcoming in Big Fletch to the broadcast, man. We had to bring the captain in because we are talking about our new starting quarterback, Jayden Daniels. London, how are you feeling when you heard the news? We haven't got to hear from you yet.
Well, I told you all, about 2 months ago that he was going to be the starting quarterback. So it wasn't a major surprise to me. But I will say this. I can appreciate the way DQ and the rest of the coaching staff kind of handled the situation. Didn't want to come in and annoy Jayden as the franchise starting quarterback right away. Let him go through some competition. Let him earn it. And from that standpoint, especially for a team and a coach that preaches competition at his highest level. But the thing about Jayden, I appreciate the way and love the way he's gone about his business, just coming in each and every day, wanting to get better, and really showing in these, not just the 2 preseason games, but throughout the mini camps, the OTAs and training camp, that he deserves to be the starting quarterback, and he's earned that right.
London, one thing that impressed me about him is his red zone, how he sees the red zone. We know it's harder to throw in the red zone than any other part of the field. The way he did it at practice in Miami, the way he's done it in the game. What about you? It shocks you that he's at that level so far already?
Yeah, that's the big thing, especially when you come from a system like the spread offenses that most offenses play in college now. You don't know how quickly these young quarterbacks can adapt to the NFL defenses, especially in the red zone, all the different coverages and nuances of coverages. The game against the Miami Dolphins, they threw a lot at him, more than you typically would see from a preseason type defense. They brought 0 blitzes, fire zones, coverages where they disguise the looks and really some of the different rotations. But him being able to process those things so quickly, you mentioned in red zone, there was a time on a third and 12 situation where the Dolphins, they kind of morphed into a cover 2 after the ball was snapped. And he stayed patient to try to let the dig develop. It wasn't there. He ended up throwing to his check down. I think it was Bates in the flat. Didn't try to force anything. So those are things that you love to see from not just a rookie quarterback, but from any quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, obviously the third preseason is coming up, Fletch, and one of the things that I'm always worried about is like the depth of the roster, and specifically at linebacker. You know, they've moved Dominique Hampton to linebacker. How do you see that room shaking out, especially with kind of some new body types in there and some injuries?
Yeah, with the injury to McGee, that definitely kind of threw a wrench in the system, so to speak. And I know there was big plans on him, and I wanted to see him play. But I thought Michael Walker did a nice job the other day. And Dominique Hampton, who you mentioned, the 5th round draft pick, he didn't look out of place playing linebacker. He had size at 6'3", about 220, but just watching him in the box and in the game against the Dolphins, he didn't look out of place. Like sometimes you can move a safety into the box and they can look a little bit out of place, not really knowing how to take on blocks and those type of things. But he looked almost like a natural. So I can see him, developing into one of those backup linebacker spots. I'm not sure, how everything will shake out in terms of the backups. But I like what Walker did, and I liked what Hampton did.
Yeah, London, speaking of the third preseason game, who are some of the other guys out there that you have on your radar that you, I guess you can say, have potential of making it, or you want to see them play a little more to see if they can really solidify, those hopes that you have for them?
Yes, I really liked Castro Fields, what he did in that ball game, man. He stood up and he was put in a lot of man-to-man type of situations. He had to defend that slot fade a few times down the field, and he was outstanding. Chig Anuzium, he showed up. I know the outside corner is still like who are going to be those guys, and Coach Quinn talked about that as well. But Anuzium, he showed up and made some nice things. Tyler Owens, we've been talking a lot about him, and since it seems like forever. Continuing to make plays. The backup safeties, what's going to happen with my guy Derek Forrest? I love him. I think he's, he was one of my favorite players to watch, and him dealing with that injury last year, I think that really hurt our defense. He's not that big safety that like they like to have, but he's a playmaker, ball hawk. A few years ago he had 4 interceptions. So how's that backup safety kind of, obviously the receiving core, what's that? Not just the second and third receivers, but who's going to be that fourth, fifth, and sixth guy? Is OZ going to be your fourth guy or your third guy? What's happening with Jahan? What's happening with De'Ami Brown, who's played really well? So it's still a lot of decisions to be made.
And London, before we let you go, you're going to be doing the broadcast of our last preseason game, man. Tell them where we can hear you guys at.
You can hear us on the big 100.3 FM. Bram, Weinstein, Logan Paulson, and Big Fletch. Hey, we have a lot of fun on that broadcast, man. 100.3.
Hey, London, we appreciate you pulling up on us, man. It's always a good time with you, and we'll talk to you soon, man. We'll see you Sunday.
I appreciate it,
bro.
Big
Thanks,
100.
It's time for some can't miss moments presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders.
Guys, we're back in the film room, and I think it's a good opportunity to break down the new quarterback one, and that's Jayden Daniels, man. Kind of going through all his plays from the preseason. And one of the things I think he's done a great job of is identifying coverages. This is man-to-man coverage, and man-to-man's easy, right?
Yeah.
We're going to say, where's our best matchup? And Tana, if I'm him, I'm saying, man, this guy down here is doing a pretty good job winning one-on-ones. Let's find this one-on-one. Let's identify it. My eyes, I love his eyes, man. Stay down the middle of the field. Right? Let's hold the coverage there. Let's keep our base in a good spot, and let's deliver a strike right here.
And look where he pushed this ball. That's how Terry has the ability to turn and run on this. A lot of quarterbacks like to throw that to that inside shoulder right there. That's how we make that tackle. Throwing it to that outside shoulder right there allows him to turn and run right there.
Yeah, placement is everything. I mean, for a guy like Terry, knowing that, hey, I'm going to attack his outside shoulder to get him to turn, and now put my foot in the ground aggressively, and the ball is already in the air. So it was a great job by both of those guys.
Yeah, just to reiterate, that ball placement is so critical. He did that throughout the game. He had one to De'Ami every single time, right? He's letting the receiver make plays on the football, and he's on time, he's on rhythm with a good base, which is awesome.
Have to stay on schedule.
Yeah, and then so again, like we talked about how good he's been identifying coverage. He's been excellent. Probably I'd say like 9 out of 10. This is one that's a little bit tough, right? They're going to kind of get in this like cover 2. The other safety's off the field here. They're bringing up pressure, so he thinks it's man, right? Look down here at the bottom. The corner's pressed up. I would think man too. It looks like man coverage, but they get to cover 2 here, right? And so he should probably be working up top here, working this little sit concept, right, Tana? Because they're not covering the back. But what I do like, Fred, you said this before, right? Even though he makes a mistake, this throw allows them to be successful in this play.
Every completion ain't a good completion. This is a great throw out of bounds. Him understanding dead play. I'm not gonna look where we at on the field right now. I can't lose any yards. I can't turn the ball over. This is a smart play. This is what older quarterbacks do.
I love that you said that, Fred, because again, like he right here, he's like, they got me, right?
Yeah.
And he could try to force this ball, but no, let's get this ball out of here because this cover 2 guy, right? Cover 2 guy, he's taking away Jahan. There's a guy over top. Let's get this thing out of here. And you can tell he intentionally threw this ball because of where it lands in the white stripe, right?
Yeah, I've seen so many young quarterbacks be dealt with this situation and panic. And that's the first thing I saw. He didn't panic, got the ball out of there, and saved himself for the next down.
Composure.
Love that. That's a great word, Fred. Composure. And you see that on this too, right? We're going to get kind of a what I call fork concept here across with a dig. It's 3rd and 11. They get into this really soft cover 2 shell, Miami. There's not a lot there, right? Look at the cross. It's dead,
it's
right?
Dead.
Like right here, dead, right? He's going to sit, be patient in the dig. The dig is dead. But I love how he's slow through the process because what did you say, Fred? In zones, right? You got to let it breathe a little bit.
Yes, you got it. Like the one thing about a zone, time stretches us. All right? If you can make some time for yourself, we will show you who we are and we will get out of spots.
And I just want to also point out, look at his eyes, man. Like, look how he works through his progressions, right? Every opportunity. Here we go here, go to the dig, go to the flat, right? And my feet match my eyes. I'm never in a bad spot. I never lose ball velocity. Great job by him. And again, it's that maturity, that composure you're seeing from such a young guy. And then this, he hasn't done a lot of this, right? But this is so advantageous. It puts defense in such conflict. Just a little zone read, back's coming downhill. He can hand it or he can pull it or read it. This is the conflict defender. He gets a little bit nosy, dives down on the dive, and then we're on the perimeter. And as a defensive coach, man, this limits the coverage structures you can play.
Yes, I can play no man-to-man with a quarterback like this, especially when he's a ball handler. Like Kyrie Irving is a ball handler when it comes to the NBA. He is a ball handler. He's a wizard with the ball in his hand. And this right here makes us only can play cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4 because he can beat you with his feet.
Yeah, and 10, I don't know about this, man, but like probably get down.
Get out of bounds.
Yeah, get out of bounds, right? Take a little slide there.
You know he's a football player. So
I would say, let him get a grand stain or two. Come on.
I give it to him.
And then this is the play, man. This is the play everyone was talking about, right? And this one is very similar, right? We identify what coverage is it. It's man. Right? We're manned up across the board right there. We got this guy. Where is he at? This guy's the plug player. He's the other man guy. It's clear, right? They said they had a screen called on this play. It was going up here to Diami. Tana, versus press, screens are tough.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right? Because this guy's got to get out here and block, right? I don't love that you're bringing this guy to the party. He's going to make the tackle. So what do? I check the play. I identify my matchup. And Tana, you've said this a ton. Talk about his eyes here, man. Because what does he do to the safety here, man? He keeps him right
in the middle of the field.
In the middle of the field, right? He ensures the one-on-one, ensures the throw. There's a little bit of pressure. Again, base. His footwork and his base has been totally on point. Love to see it, right? And then we put this ball up and down.
Just let it rip.
Great catch by your guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was all around great, man. I think that's one of the things that you see in this kid. Like, he's a guy that's playing ahead of schedule when it comes to making some of these decisions. Not the decision alone, but just where he has his eyes at. And then now I'm going to throw this ball where my guy can get it only. You know what I mean? So everything about this play was just perfect, and I'm glad Diami came down with the catch.
Absolutely. And the other thing I love about it is the arc on the ball. Yes. He lets Diami adjust to it. It's
adjust to the ball,
I can let my receiver work for me. Great play. Love the maturity he's showing. Love the composure he's showing. And can he still get better?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Absolutely. But this is a heck of a start. Can't wait for week 1. Brian, why don't you take it away?
Commanders family, we have a full week of shows just for you. This week on the Get Loud podcast, they talk Jayden Daniels, Doc Walker joined the show, and they discuss the sprinting beef between Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles. Can't wait to hear what that conversation is about. And then on the Command Center podcast, Logan, Tanner, and Fred talk about, guess what? Jayden Daniels being announced as QB1. And as you all know, Command Center comes out every Thursday with me and the guys, so thank you all for supporting and watching us every week. And if that's not enough content for you, we got even more. We have Booth Review, which comes out next Monday with London Fletcher and Bram Weinstein. We have access to all press conferences with Media Pass and Hail Tales, which is stories of Washington football history. Some great content on deck for y'all, and we do it all for our Commanders family. Make sure you tune into all Commanders content on the Commanders YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. Fellas, our final preseason game and our first one back at the crib at Commanders Field. And we know what we're looking for here. It's all about depth, offensive and defensive side. Tanner, we're going to start on the offensive side. What competitions are you looking at most?
I'm going to tell you, man, I'm very interested in just to see the lineup in this game because I remember around this time last year, you know, we kind of figured we had that 1 or 2 and 3 spot kind of solidified at the receiver position. Now it's like just Terry and who's next? You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to see these guys go out here and play, man. I'm gonna be very interested in just seeing who's gonna be playing and how many reps they're gonna get, because I think they're really still trying to see who's gonna take that 2 and 3 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with the receivers specifically, it's like also, do you use this as an opportunity to find roles? I think we know who's gonna make the team, but can you kind of clean it up? Is Jahan better in the slot? Is OZ working outside? Who's returning kicks? And again, those guys might not even play, which is crazy, and they can figure that out during practice, but I think this is an interesting opportunity to do some of that stuff.
Yeah, well, speaking of room, what about the DB room?
Yeah, man.
We talking about Mike Davis playing. We don't know if St. Juice is going to play in this game. We don't know if Emmanuel Forbes is going to play in this game. Then you got Mike Davis, you got the rest of these guys. So you're talking about a room where you really, this game can decide who playing what and who's where. And then when you mix in the safety position, like the safety room, that could be one of our better rooms on this roster. So it's going to be a good player cut. I hate to say that. Like, it's going to be a good player cut, but that's what good teams do. Good teams cut good players.
And there's a really strong corollary, actually, between these two rooms, because there's guys that are working as cross-training as returners, right? You got Jamison Crowder, you got Luke McCaffrey, you also got
Emmanuel Forbes returning.
They're all working different stuff, so that is going to really define, I think, whether we keep a 6 DB or a 6 receiver, because that returnability is going to be a big deal.
What about that linebacker room?
Oh,
what about the linebacker room? Because I think it correlates with the defensive end room, if you ask me. So you got Jamin Davis, a guy playing tweener. We got a guy that's injured. Now, how does that affect that room as a whole? So I think when you look at that, I got to say, well, who's going to play? Of course, Bobby Wagner not playing. Frankie Louvu not going to play in this game. But it's going to be some guys like Hampton that say, you know what, not only can I play safety, I can play some linebacker for you too. So I think they're going to help also.
And you guys talk about those correlations between positions. So, Logan, I'm going to stick with you. Tight end room.
Yeah.
That actually can affect how many receivers we keep and how many running backs we keep. Because Cliff Kingsbury, we've seen dual tight end sets a lot. How many tight ends do you think we keep on this roster?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good question, because you got guys that are kind of in between. And, like, do you use multiple backs? Like, do you keep an extra running back because they want to be in a different personnel group? Like, we anticipate 12, but what if they're in more 20? Like, we don't know for sure. So I think that's something that, again, they have to figure out. Much like usage pattern in the receiver room, they still got to kind of find that identity. And so identifying 4 tight ends, 6 receivers, maybe you keep an extra back. I think it's going to be really interesting. And again, that's why this game, I think, is so critical, right? Because it helps that last person, your Cole Turner, your OZ, whoever it is, kind of put their stamp and say, this is what we should be in personnel-wise in the year, because we're the better position group and we need to be on the field more.
Yeah. And it's all about that competing. It's all about that analysis of these players. So we have one more time. One more chance to make a name for yourself, and that's at the crib in Commanders Field. Who do you guys need to see step up?
It's tons of guys. But I want to see Tyler Owens continue to make plays.
He's been an animal. He's been an animal, man.
I want to see Wiley continue to run the ball. I want to see Bryant make some plays. I want him to go out there and make a claim and say, I can be your red zone wide receiver. I can be your 50-50 ball. Throw it up to me. I want to see guys specifically do what I think they can do heading into the season.
Yeah.
So it's tons of guys that have a lot to prove.
It's so many guys that you can kind of name and pick from offensive side and defensive side. What I'm still curious about is this kickoff return team. Like who's going to be the guys back there? I've seen a couple of guys back there, but I don't think that no one has solidified that job yet and say, hey, you know what, this is going to be for me. Because I do believe that you need a guy with a little more stature.
So you need a certain body type.
And that can run between the tackles a little bit. Someone who played halfback a little bit. So I'm going to be looking to see if they put more running backs back there, and will it be a guy who's probably in potential of being the running back, probably the 3rd running back or the 4th guy that they can say, hey, I can solidify this spot, and maybe now I get a job as that backup third down, running back.
And Logan, before we end this conversation, I think a lot of people are like, okay, why watch a preseason week 3 game? Nobody's going to play. My favorite quarterback's not playing. Why is this game so important for these players?
I mean, these guys hit on it already a little bit, right? It's the last opportunity for you to say, I deserve to be in the NFL. I deserve to be on the 53. I deserve to be on the practice squad, because, again, this will be some guy's last game ever playing. Don't let it be you, right? Don't let it be you. Put the best film you get out there, because it might not be for the Commanders. It's going to be for one of those other 32 teams. And it is a critical game. It'll always have a good place in my heart. For me, it was the 4th preseason game. Make your stamp, make your opportunity, and make it happen.
A lot of great things to see in our final preseason game. Now let's give you some info on how you can tune in and watch your Commanders. Commanders fans, this Sunday we are back at Commanders Field as the guys welcome the New England Patriots for our final preseason game. Kickoff is set for 8 p.m. and will be on prime time. That's right, NBC. You can catch our radio crew featuring London Fletcher, Bram Weinstein, and Logan Paulson calling the game on Big 100. We can't wait to have you all back at the crib bringing that energy. And speaking of home field advantage. We have some exciting new features for you that will be present at Commanders Field. It's time for the best seat in the house, presented by SeatGeek, your ticket to great Commander seats. We are kicking off the season this Sunday night at Commanders Field, and we need you all to bring that energy. Make sure to join us for our new pregame show beginning 20 minutes before the game. Make sure you're in your seats 20 minutes before kickoff. I promise you won't want to miss it. Fellas, nothing quite like a Commanders home game. Now, Tanner, you're Mr. Superstition. We know that, right? We know you had all kinds of rituals for the games, man. What were your rituals for that first home game?
Well, I can't just put it on one game. You know, it was what I did from day one. From the first day I ever played this game in high school, I found, you got to find that, I guess you could say, that routine that you convince you to say, okay, now I can play on this level. Yeah. And so I found it. I found this one particular album, ATLs by Outkast. I listened to that. Yeah. And then I had different ways of, my socks cut, my shirt that I wore under my pads. Yeah. So I just kept that going all the way until I played my last game at 35 years old in this league. So it was one of the things that I felt like if it's not broke, don't fix it.
So the same album every game?
Every game.
Wow, man. Wow.
I did that too. Phil Collins. Oh, yeah? In the air tonight. You know when that breakdown comes, do. I'll be like, now I'm ready right now. And I just also lay my uniform out like a mannequin on the floor.
First day of school type.
Yeah, and I just dress it up, and then I want to see how it was going to look before I put it on. Plus I had this one dirty sock that I wore for 900 consecutive days.
That's crazy, man.
Till it was just a ring around my ankle. And I kept that sock.
Disintegrated?
How many years did you wear it? How many years?
3 years. My first 3 years, I had this sock. And I think the first game that I didn't wear the sock, I got burnt for a touchdown. And I was like, I missed my sock.
Yeah, I mean, I did the ritual thing too. I did it like Tana, I had everything timed out, the food, the right portion, and then I was just getting too freaked out about, I didn't do this right, I messed that up, I didn't put my sock on correctly. And I said, forget this is too stressful, let's move on.
Textbook overthinker, guys. Well, man, I cannot wait to see all you guys over at Commanders Field. Commanders fans, we hope y'all enjoy our final preseason game. Until next Thursday, we out.